Good morning. Oh, people are awake this morning. Wonderful. It's lovely to see you all. Welcome to First Unitarian Church of Rochester, where our mission is through spiritual connection in community. We listen deeply to others and ourselves. We open to wonder and transformation, and we serve together with love and humility. I'm Shannon Foose, membership coordinator, she, her, and today we have Megan Garvey doing our sermon, Brownlee Field, who is doing some opening words for us. We have a wonderful group of musicians going to be singing for us, some very unique music. And Kim, who's first on piano today, and I better stop introducing folks and move along. But we have a great number of folks also online. Thank you to all our chat ushers, greeters, who make everything possible for us both online and in person. Here at First Unitarian, we honor those whose grounds and earth we stand on, the Haudenosaunee people of the Longhouse, specifically the Seneca peoples, keepers of the Western Door. I have a couple of announcements. Oh, exciting announcements. So this week is a wonderful week for those of us in the LGBTQIA plus community and allies. I forgot I had my mask on. We have a ball game coming up on Wednesday at 7. If you haven't signed up, please sign up to come to that. My family and I will be there, and we hope to see you. We also have on Saturday, after 2 years of not having it, we have the Pride Parade at 1 o'clock. Yay, woo! And we are looking for folks to walk and represent both our church and the downtown church, so Unitarian Universalists together. And then also at 1 o'clock, we have a festival. There's the word I'm looking for. There's a festival at Cobbs Hill Park, which is where the parade will end. And we're going to have a booth. So if you're interested in representing us at the booth, at welcoming folks, at teaching folks what it is that Unitarian Universalism is all about, please contact me and we'll get you signed up. And with no further ado, let us all take a deep breath as we center into this space and time. And please join me in reading our chalice lighting words. May the flame we now kindle inspire us to use our power to heal with love, to help with compassion, to bless with joy, and to seek liberation in the fullness of community.
So fun. Hey, is that better? Hey, there we go. Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see that gleaming candlelight still burning bright by the sycamores for me. The new mown hay sends all its fragrance through the fields I used to roam. When I think about the moonlight on the Wabash, how I long for my Indiana home. My wife and I and 350,000 other people attended the Indianapolis 500 this year. And the largest crowd we'd ever been in before that was going to a University of Michigan football game in the big house, about 110,000, and this was 3 times that size. We were in the Northwest Vista, which is on turn 4. We were in a packed, full stadium, and you could look down the front straightaway all the way through the big grandstands to the far end at turn 1. And that was about a mile away just of people filling the stands. And it's quite awesome to be in such a huge group of people all simultaneously. Now, how do they park the cars for 350,000 people? Well, systematically, but not very quickly. So we looked online before we went and got the wisdom of the locals. And they said, the parking lot's open at 5 in the morning and get there at 6 and you'll have no problem. Well, we were staying about an hour out of town, and that really wasn't an option for us. So we got in line to park at about a little before 8 in the morning for a race that starts afternoon. And we were about 5 miles from our parking spot. It took us 3 hours to get to the parking spot. Now, while you're waiting in line patiently for 3 hours, invariably you will experience others who are not as patient as you are, and you may think ill of those who are cutting in line in front of you. But isn't that why we come to church? Because here we know that, or we learn that each and every one of us is important, and that's our first principle. And that everyone else is just trying to get through their day just like you are. So if you can cut them a little slack, use some patience, and give them a little bit of grace, things will go nice and smoothly. We did make it to our seats in time to see the whole opening ceremony and the race, and no problem. And by the way, the race was won by a guy whose sponsor was a chocolate company. How sweet is that? May it be so. Morning.
Please join us in song, mind, and spirit as we sing hymn 108, My Life Flows On, an Endless Song.
Good morning, Rochester beloveds. My name is Samara, or Samara Powers. I'm coming to you from the traditional lands of the Timucua and the Seminole here in North Central Florida. And if you're just listening in, I am a middle-aged, white, non-binary woman with a gray, short-sleeved V-neck shirt. And my long hair and I am seated in my front yard, which is, for all intents and purposes, mostly just grass and green things and trees. And the sun is kind of shining down behind me, and there's some shade and shadows. Thank you so much for having me with you today. I'm grateful to Megan for allowing me to introduce an embodiment practice for you today. She happens to know that I have a wiggle ministry on the side. And the main idea about a wiggle ministry is that it embraces the notion that great change begins with small movements. And for today, what I would like to invite you to do is take just a couple of minutes to move your body in the way that it wants to do. And that means taking a breath, and take another one. You can be generous with this. It can be a natural breath. Deep or slow or shallow as your body wants. And just take this time to tune in to where in your body might need a little bit of motion right now. For me, it's my spine, so I'm gonna kind of wave my body back and forth a little bit. I'll stay seated, but I encourage you to stand. If you'd like to stand and you're able, and you can get up, but this wiggling ministry is about accessibility for all bodies, and wherever you can, and maybe that means blinking your eyes really hard and releasing them, or even just holding the notion of movement in your heart as you breathe. Finger waves are appropriate. Any kind of little motion that just gets your body moving and gets that blood flowing, and you can be as wild and free as the space that you're in will allow. And you don't want to whack your neighbors if you happen to be in a group area. So be mindful of the space you're in. But I encourage you to be free. You don't have to do what I'm doing either. Follow your body's lead. Rolling shoulders, and I'm just rolling my head as well. I can move my neck a little bit. I'm never sure if the microphone's going to pick up the crackles in my neck, but you know, remembering to breathe. Come back to stillness and breath. Remember that anytime you need to, you can wiggle. Thanks for being with me today. Enjoy the rest of the service.
I would like to invite you now into the spiritual practice of generosity. This week, our plate offering will be split between the work of the First Unitarian and the work of the Avenue Black Box Theater. The Avenue Black Box Theater is where the cool kids come to play. Hey, wow. It serves as an inclusive, fully accessible, queer space where social justice and art disciplines converge to create dynamic stage productions, installations, and live art-making events. Your patronage supports collaborations that elevate voices from the margins, make space for their art and real-time community transformation. Please give generously as you are able.
What a joy it is to have Whitney and Madrigal playing this morning. I feel like our youth are our best kept secret around here. Thank you both for sharing your gifts today. I'd like to invite us all now into a time of meditation, reflection, and prayer, beginning with a shared silence within this sanctuary and beyond. I invite you now into your own breath. And in the words of Reverend Lynn Cox, Spirit of life and love, known by many names, yet known fully by none, we give thanks for this time and place of renewal. We give thanks for the ability to begin again. After the disaster, after the tragedy, after the loss, after meeting the challenge set before us. Grant us the courage to continue on the journey, the courage to speak up for the well-being of others, ourselves, and the planet. May we forgive one another when we fall short, and may we begin again. Grant us a sense of being at peace in the world, even while we are in motion. Let us cultivate together the strength to welcome every kind of gift and all manner of ways to be on the journey together. May it be so. Amen. And blessed be.
Let us now enter into ritual to bring what is heaviest on our hearts or most present in our minds this morning, and to lay it on the altar of community and spirit, honoring the complexities of life, the grief, the growth, and the gratitude alive in each of us. Online, you're invited to share in the chat, and in the sanctuary, you are invited to arrive at one of the aisle altars to light a candle for your grief, for your gratitude, or your growth, extinguishing the taper candle with the snuffer. May we now share in this ritual of community care. In God's light, awhile, on boughs to slide, feels them give way beneath her, and sings and sings and sings, knowing she breathes. Like the bird that pausing in God's light, awhile on clouds to slide, feels them give way beneath her, and sings and sings and sings, knowing she can breathe. Be like the bird that pausing in her flight, awhile on clouds pausing in her flight, awhile clouds to slide, feels and sings and sings, on clouds to slide, feels All that we hold in our hearts for ourselves, for each other, for the world, is now held in loving community and by the larger love which holds us all. May it be so, and blessed be.
I knew this was going to happen. When Reverend Sherry gave us our summer assignment of learning to sing a song with others, it pains me to admit I was a little obnoxious about it. I thought to myself, all right, I like it, but this is just too easy for me. I've been learning songs with other people since I was like 3. I don't think this is going to teach me what you're going for here, Rev. Now, because I can be a little stubborn sometimes, the divine has learned to employ with me what I like to call the coconut method. God, as I understand them, often has to lovingly redirect me onto a different path by dropping spiritual coconuts very directly onto my head. And sometimes those coconuts take the form of people. Dear ones, I kid you not, less than an hour later, after I was lamenting the ease of our summer assignment that was just too easy for me, Reverend Sherry appeared with a different assignment, tailored just for me. It was definitely one I had not sung before. It's one that has a lot of pitfalls that you don't necessarily know are coming until you're already singing it. It's one that, it could change in an instant with one shift of the state of the world. You want to know what the song's called? It's called Preaching My First Sermon as a Seminarian. Now, when Reverend Sherry offered me this assignment, I really didn't want to say yes. And that confused me because I love public speaking and I sure do love talking about the love of my life, theology. And as many of you know, for better and for worse, I love sharing my opinions with all of you. So what was going on? It just felt different, very different, like profoundly, physiologically different. Because no sooner did that question, that invitation leave Reverend Sherry's mouth, did I feel a boulder take up residence in the center of my body. This conversation was no different from any other conversation that I have with Rev. They call me into doing new and challenging things all the time. She's my minister. I'm used to her doing that. I want her to do that. And building my preaching muscles is a thing I'm supposed to be doing right now. So why, when asked by a person that I trust more than most people, that I'm being asked to do something I know I'm supposed to be doing, do I feel this boulder coming into my body, and it just sort of feels like my body is internally rearranging itself? Spoiler alert, I said yes, but not without a really, really big caveat. I was not allowed to ignore that boulder feeling in my body. As tempting as it was to just sort of plow right through it, I have been a therapist for way too long to know that I can ignore my feelings and have it end well. So before I sat down to write the very words I am saying to you right now, I sat down and I asked myself a question I ask my therapy clients all the time. Are there other times you remember having that feeling in your body? Anytime a particularly big or loud or simply unexpected feeling arises in the body, it's our body's way of saying, this feeling made perfect sense at one point. I wrote it into your neural networks because I didn't want you to forget it. And anytime this sort of feeling comes up, I want you to follow that memory back as far as you can. Because something is happening right now in the present that is reminding me of that thing that happened in the past. It's lighting up a particular neural network that's attached to that memory. And if you don't pause to check in with it, it's okay. But I will have whatever response to this situation in the same way I did to that old situation. Even if that response doesn't make sense to what's going on right now, it kept you safe before. And that is your body's sacred goal, to keep you safe and to help you keep going. The question, are there other times that you remember having this feeling in your body? It's basically a neurological circuit breaker. It can give you the space that you need to examine what your body is trying to communicate to you, how it may or may not apply to the present situation, and take space to discern, what do I need to do with this information? So as I took the space that I needed to examine that boulder feeling that arose in my body when Reverend Sherry asked me to do a thing I felt like I should be able to do, well, goodness, did my body have a lot to say. Megan, you know this feeling. You first met this feeling when you were 7. The other kids at recess didn't want to play with you, and you spent a very long time trying to figure out why. I took a physiological snapshot of that moment for you so that you could remember what helped you feel better. You felt better when you found a grown-up that you trusted to talk to. Megan, do you need to find a grown-up that you trust to talk to right now? Or Megan, what about this? What about that time in middle school that you had that particularly terrible violin recital? The one that every step of the way home you lamented to anyone who would listen that you would practice more next time. You were wanting to make sure that you would be more prepared. Are you worried you weren't going to be prepared? It's a fair question. Oh, but one more possibility, my brain said to me. Hey, Megan, remember all of those times you accidentally deeply hurt a person you care about a whole heck of a lot? Well, you had that feeling every time that happened. Any chance you're worried about that here? Oh, we had a winner. Now, I'm still a seminarian. I've only been a seminarian for 6 months. This is new. And I am abundantly familiar with the phrase, there is no such thing as being a prophet in your own hometown. But even with those truths, I deeply respect the power of this pulpit. I am all too aware of the pain that can be inflicted by people who proclaim any sort of spiritual authority while standing from this respected platform, particularly those of us who hold any form of dominant identity. And I know I can't wait to start preaching until I'm ready, because y'all, we'd be waiting a real long time. But it is at the same time my responsibility to make sure I am doing everything in my power to ensure my words will love you well. So I went back to those questions that my brain very helpfully brought up for me. And the more that I did preempt the potential pitfalls, that boulder became easier to walk with. Now, to be clear, I never expected it to fully go away. It was serving an important guiding purpose. But I was still curious to know if it had anything else to tell me before I got up here to talk to you. And then I realized it was pushing me closer to you. In 2022, I know I am not alone in this predicament that I am describing. Because, dear ones, right now, there is no shortage of the number of ways that we can harm one another totally by accident, with a never-ending list of realities to rage about, losses to grieve, norms to reshape. Well, frankly, we're exhausted. Our nervous systems are fried, and our brains default to autopilot to help us. They're trying to save us energy. But lately, I've been finding myself praying for a neurological software update, because I don't know, I wonder how much that autopilot is really helping us as much as our brains like to tell us that it is. Because it really seems like our autopilot settings make it harder for us to operate in the ways we are called to in the times of growing fascism. Because when we run on autopilot, we are often running on our old wounds. Wounds we're not responsible for, but wounds that we walk with nonetheless. Old wounds that possibly taught us to default to the ways of people in our past who have harmed us, ways of our oppressors. Our automatic replies can so easily be ways of repeating and perpetuating dominion, shame, perfectionism, and control. Ways of making others less than or expendable. Ways of making ourselves less than or expendable. And beloveds, I wonder what energy we might have if we could figure out how to stop running on autopilot as much as we are right now. What if tuning in to the wisdom of our bodies is a critical path through hell? Now, to be clear, I'm not saying this to incite any form of Unitarian Universalist religious scrupulosity. Your worth is never in question here. In the house of Unitarian Universalism, being asked to try something new can activate some of those old wounds, and it can be really challenging, but it is never intended to make you feel any less than. It is simply us learning how to walk one another through the storm. I do say all of this because I know we can't defeat our overarching empires while we are busy recreating empires in our relationships. And in that spirit, I've got an invitation for all of us, myself included. I'd like to invite us in this time to become reaction detectives. Whenever we are invited into new ways of being, what if we dedicated ourselves to shifting our attention to our bodies to see what they might have to teach us? What might be making it hard for me to be able to try this new and uncomfortable thing? Sometimes it's just because it's a new and uncomfortable thing. But sometimes it's because there are messages, there are things that we have learned to auto-reply, auto-default to, that we don't always realize. How might illuminating our innate embodied reactions ultimately save us so much more time and energy, because it is changing the way that we learn to walk with one another in love? What relationally revolutionary truths might you learn if we stopped a little more often to ask ourselves, especially when we don't want to, what is happening in my body? Have I felt this before? If I felt this before, what happened then? How did I respond? Is that how I want to respond now? Or is that going to take my old wounds and put them onto somebody else? Now, I know that sounds like a lot of steps, and I know that that can sound hard and a little weird, but I'm going to be annoying because I'm up here. And I'm going to ask all of us that the more we feel called to resist that kind of examination, that kind of practice, try using it on the resistance itself. You never know what you might learn, and we only have more liberation to gain. And breaking free from empires requires us to try things that we've never tried before. In the words of the esteemed Reverend Bill Sinkford, as he said a few weeks ago at General Assembly, if we, Unitarian Universalists, knew what was guaranteed to work, we would have been living in the beloved community for decades. Maybe we don't always know the path forward that we think we do. And if our faith, if our community is going to continue to be a source of liberation and strength for all of us as these days of fascism continue, it's going to require us to start singing some new songs. It's going to require us to take more invitations to shift and change. But I have all the faith in the world that we can learn how to sing those songs, even the weird ones, even the hard ones, together. May it be so. Amen. And blessed be.
Please join us once again in voice, body, and spirit as we sing from our teal hymnal, Piece 1017, Building a New Way. We are building a new way. We are building
Please remain standing, whether physically or in spirit, as we say our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. We are indeed building a new way, and sometimes the directions are really funny, but we can keep walking in new ways, walking on new paths and taking those invitations, knowing that we are held by this community in love. Amen.